Welcome to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. I'm Audrey Faust, the Manifesting CFO, and I'm your host. And on this podcast, we are going to hear real conversations from women who have built multi-six-figure, seven-figure, and even multi-seven-figure businesses. We're going to explore the identity shifts, the mindset, and the leadership evolutions that they went through in order to grow a business. You know, the things that nobody talks about, because building wealth isn't only about strategy. It's about the mindset and the woman you have to become in order to do this. Now, let's dive in. I am super excited today to be interviewing multi-six-figure chiropractor, Dr. Courtney Bolduc. Dr. Courtney is a family wellness chiropractor and the owner of The Cove Chiropractic in Maitland, Florida, specializing in caring for pregnant women, babies, and families through nervous system focused chiropractic care. She is passionate about creating healthier communities by empowering individuals with simple, holistic approaches to wellness. Welcome, Courtney. Thanks for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So, what I love most about Dr. Courtney is she walked away from a partnership that no longer served her, even though it was scary. And we'll get into that story in a little bit. And she rebuilt something completely on her own that's already thriving. But first, Courtney, can you just share a little bit in a minute or two about what your business looks like today and what you love most about it?
Yeah, so in my business today, I actually have an associate chiropractor in there, and we have an office manager, and we are a family wellness office. So it's always just super fun. It's kind of like hanging out with friends all day because people are happy and excited to be there because they're investing in their health. And so they understand what that means.
Awesome. And what do you love most about it?
Yeah, so I love just being able to get to like connect with people on a deeper level. Even though like we're not seeing people for, 30 minutes to an hour long appointment, it's, 10 to 15 minutes, but I always call it's very like high touch. So we are digging right in. There's kind of like no fluff. We're getting right to the point. And so getting to have that kind of connection with everybody on a daily basis is what I love about it.
Oh, that's great. So, as I mentioned, you started this business in a partnership with someone you had worked for and helped grow for years. What made you finally realize that you were no longer aligned with that partnership? And what did that feel like when you realized that?
Yeah, so I would say it was about like a year into opening the business, and it was mostly just autonomy over the decisions and the direction that I wanted the business to go. And so it was really scary because when I initially got into it, I wanted to be in a partnership, which is why I chose that. And so when I started to I started to feel like resentful almost. And I didn't like
Mm.
that feeling. I was like, this isn't fun. I'm not going to work feeling, happy and excited to be building and growing this. And so that's when I really had to sit down and be like, okay, what is the life that I want for myself? And I had to make a selfish decision in a way, which was really difficult because you're also letting somebody else down that you care about. And so that was a very hard decision, but it was the best decision for the future and the vision that I wanted for not only the office, but for my life as well.
Great. I'm sure that was a hard decision. And I
Yeah.
often see women, multiple companies, women and men, get into partnerships because they want to be in it with somebody, right? Because it
Mhm.
can sometimes feel lonely out there as an entrepreneur on your own. And it's very, from what I've seen, especially from a CFO side, it's very, very hard to have partnerships work because you have different ideas and different ideas of what you're supposed to be doing and what you aren't supposed to be doing. So, in that partnership, you were paying her half of everything
Mhm,
and you were doing all the work on the ground.
mhm.
So that felt like an imbalance to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course you go into it with the best intentions and we tried to lay everything out of, we invested the same amount. So it wasn't like one person was kind of outweighing the other, but in the type of business that we have, it's a service-based industry. So we have to get out in the community. We have to get in front of a lot of people to get those people to like, know, and trust us. So that was falling on me. And that's the brunt of kind of what you have to do in the beginning. So that's where it kind of felt like, okay, I'm building all of this for somebody else still, which is why I wanted to initially open the office was because, okay, like I'm ready to be an owner. I'm ready to do this. So I think it was just an imbalance in understanding of what that was going to look like, especially in the beginning. Like now we're approaching year 3 and that looks a lot different. We don't have to be at an event every weekend getting our name out there because now we have more of that established foundation.
Awesome. So talk a little bit more about that in the beginning because a lot of times you're, what they call pounding the pavement, right? It feels like that. You're networking, trying
Mhm.
to build a business. And sometimes like that can be disheartening, right? If you're not bringing people in or in your case like you were doing all the work. Did you see that shift somewhere along the line and all of a sudden it started working and how far into it were you when you were like, "Okay, this is working?"
Yeah, I would say, I mean, just with the transition. So after year 1, then I ended the partnership and we rebranded. So it was scary because I'm like, okay, do I have to redo all of this? But the community like took it took it well and everyone's just like, okay, cool, great. Keep it moving. So that was really helpful as well. And then so like after I would say like year 2, like the beginning of um like last year, that's when I was like, okay, like we're I don't have to be out somewhere every single weekend. It started to kind of feel like, okay, this is happening a little more naturally. People know us, or their friends are talking about us. They're like, oh, so and so goes to you. So more of that like community connection started to happen, I would say like year 2. But even now, like I have just such a almost high expectation that I'm like, okay, like we can't take our foot off the gas because we got to keep going. So I'm waiting for that moment where my brain clicks and it's like, okay, like we can relax just a little bit, but I just don't operate that way naturally. So um it feels like I'm waiting for something to happen that probably never will. We'll always be,
Yes, the
working towards the next
entrepreneur
goal
life.
or the next thing.
I think that's the entrepreneur life that
Mhm.
we're always like, okay, it's moving and you don't want to lose the momentum. So I mean, it's amazing that you were able to build the practice to the size that you have in such a short period of time. I mean,
Mhm.
that's really fantastic. So
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that you are proud of yourself for what you've
Yeah.
built so quickly. You also mentioned to me that you kind of went through a grieving process
Mhm.
when you were in this partnership and you realized this isn't working. And then you said, well, maybe I should have just did that on my own from the beginning. What did that look like and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, so it was a lot of therapy, honestly. That was helpful to be able to just talk about my feelings and how processing it. But it was more of allowing myself to just feel however I was feeling and to know that however I was feeling was okay and to sit with it instead of just making a rash decision, which is how I came to the decision to begin with. It wasn't just I woke up one day and said, this is what I'm doing. I had to talk through it and make sure that like this is a life altering decision. So like let me make sure that this is the right one.
Talk a little bit about that process. How did you talk through it? How did you come to this decision?
Yeah. So it was more of like I said, I just was not feeling wake up in the morning, I'd just be like, something's off. Something's not right. Like I just felt it in my being and in my gut. You
I
get
get
those
it.
gut feelings, that woman's intuition. And I just felt like I'm like, this is just not what I expected, and I don't feel happy and excited. And that's how I wanted to feel. I was like, I finally achieved something that I've been working towards for a very long time. Why do I not feel happy to go and build this every single day? And so that's when I started to realize, like, okay, I think that there's just a misalignment happening here. And I had to get right with myself of like, what does that look like? Okay, why did I initially say yes to the partnership? And it's because I didn't feel that confidence in myself at that
Mm.
time. And so as I started to kind of like get my feet wet in the business and I felt like I was doing it on my own, I was like, wow, like, why did I question this or why did I second guess what I'm capable of? How dare I do that? And now I have the confidence to say, okay, I have to put myself first for once. So just kind of navigating that doubt or that question in my head constantly, I just couldn't turn off that voice anymore. I had to listen to it.
Well, I love two things that you said. First of all, listening to your intuition, because we often don't do that. And I think women have such a deep intuition. And we think if we just push through it, if we just keep doing it, if we just keep moving forward, and we don't often enough take a step back and say, am I happy to go to work every day? Is this exciting? And it totally shifted your energy, I'm sure, once you did that.
Yes,
I want to
completely.
come back to the confidence, but talk about that. Like, did you feel an energy shift when you finally made that decision?
Yeah, I did. And at first I felt guilty. I felt that I was letting somebody else down, but then I had to keep my vision and my goals like at the forefront every day. So that's saying affirmations and making sure that I knew why I made that decision. Um And then that started to shift. So as I got to create a new brand, create new logos for the office and things like that, I started to get really excited. And I was like, okay, this was the part that I missed when I
Mm,
initially got into it, getting to create something from scratch. That was really exciting. And when I saw people's reaction to it, that was like, okay, yes, like this is how it should have always been.
that's great. And how did it feel to kind of, I mean, obviously you were excited about starting over, but
Mhm.
that's probably what you're talking about. The grieving process was, I got to go back to square one after, wasn't an entire year with your partner.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did it, there was some excitement, but, there was also, I'm sure, some,
Yeah, I mean, there was also the oh shit moments of like, this is all on me now. Like, I have to figure
mm,
out our accounting or, our QuickBooks, like all the little things that were kind of getting handled elsewhere. I had to now take control of and learn how to do those. But honestly, that was like the fun part for me because my, type A side wants to have a hand in knowing all the little parts. So it was getting to learn that and be like, okay, now I understand it. I know where the money's coming from, where the money's going, and having more confidence in that. So talking about like the financial part of, you know, knowing all of those pieces and being confident to speak about it and talk about that with others now, that was a big part of it as well.
I love that. And I think what women also struggle with is just confidence in general, right? You
Yeah.
mentioned that a little bit. Like you came into it with a partner because you weren't confident enough in yourself at that time. Is that
Mhm.
correct? To start the business.
Yeah.
Like, did you all of a sudden become confident or did you just say, okay, now I got to do this myself? And the confidence kind of grew. Did the confidence come before or after? Let me ask you that.
So it was during. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I got to the decision as I started to be in the business and grow the business, and I was in the office by myself. That's where I was like, oh, like I can do this. Like I'm asking. It started to be when I wasn't asking the same questions over and over, and I was like, I already know the answers to what I'm asking. I was like, that that's it. Like I don't need it's kind of like that security blanket. You feel
Right.
confident and you're like, "Oh, I have this here. So if all else fails, like I still have that." So as I started to come to that, decision, I was like, I have all the answers here. I don't need to outsource my power to anybody else anymore.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And you mentioned a minute ago about like learning QuickBooks and learning the financial pieces of
Mhm.
your business. And of course, that's what I do.
Yes.
So, like, I come across a lot of women who are afraid of that, or what I call financially phobic.
Mhm.
They don't want to look at the numbers. They feel like there's fear and judgment in the numbers. And did you experience any of that? I'm curious.
I would say at first, but money has never scared me. I just was scared to know how to steward it. I wanted to make sure I was making the right decisions and that I wasn't going to lose everything. So, learning how to be a good steward of my money, that was like the biggest piece because I wanted to be able to grow my team, pay my employees a well wage and things like that. So, that was more of what I was looking for of like, okay, I want to know all the ins and outs. And it honestly doesn't scare me. It's just making sure I'm making the right decisions.
Great. And do you use your financial information to make decisions now,
Yes,
Courtney?
absolutely.
Great.
All the charts and all the resources to help with that too. So all the decisions are like based off strategy, not based off feelings.
Yes. Well, that's fantastic. So
Mhm.
I love to hear that. When you walked away from that partnership, like, how did you rebuild differently? I mean, you talked a little bit about the branding part of it
Yeah.
and that part. Like, is there anything else you did differently that you weren't able to do as a partnership?
In that regard, I wouldn't say necessarily. I mean, I had a hand in most of it. I would say one thing that she did handle was some of our hiring. So then that then fell on me. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was being the best leader that I could be to my team and hiring the right people for the right seats. Because sometimes in business we can get desperate when it's like we just have a role we need to fill. And that happened in the beginning where I was like, okay, like I just need somebody here. And it was just the wrong person for, the wrong position. There's nothing wrong with the person. It's just it wasn't the right position. And I didn't ask the right questions to make sure of that. And so now there's a process that's, hire slow, fire fast so that
Yeah, my
we can make
favorite
sure it's the
saying.
right people.
I was just thinking that exact saying, right?
Mhm.
Hire slow, fire fast. And that's easy to say. And I've worked with,
Mhm.
multi seven figure CEOs that, like, I tell them that all the time and they still don't listen and then regret the decision.
Yeah,
Like, because
because
they
then
think, oh, I just need to fill that seat.
worst things about being an entrepreneur is having to fire people. Like that's one of the worst parts.
Have you had to fire anybody, Courtney?
Yes, I have.
And how did you get into that? How did you go into that conversation? I'm curious.
So trying to lead with like facts and not make it about feelings and just say, you have to at the end of the day, like we have to make the best decisions for the business. And sometimes that's just what it comes down to. And from an employee perspective, like that's not great to hear. Um, and
No.
yeah, but that conversation never gets easier, but the more you do it, the easier it does become, but that's not, like, a skill that I really wanna get good at.
Well, obviously, through my career, I've had, you know, working for myself and working for others. I'm not going to say it the opportunity, the chore of firing people.
Yeah.
So, and somebody said something to me one time that I'm going to share with you that was so insightful that I was like, okay, like firing somebody is never going to feel easy or good.
Mhm.
Not if you're like a decent human being.
Right.
I was like, "Okay, it may get a little lesser, but it's
Mhm.
it's never gonna you're never gonna be okay with it."
Yeah.
So, that made me feel a little bit better. I remember the first time had to fire somebody, it was probably the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, I mean, it was very similar to ending the partnership. It was just this, like, terrible feeling that you have to, you know, let somebody down or, make them feel a type of way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as women, we often take the brunt of that on our shoulders. Well, they get to feel a certain way, however they're going to feel. And whether or not we're not, quote unquote, making them feel a certain way.
Correct.
So we're doing the best that we can. And
Yeah,
so are they.
exactly.
Now, you shared in our conversation earlier something else that really intrigued me that I think a lot of women struggle with, which is the idea that women are not supposed to be the breadwinner. And that's something that you recently had to change your belief around. Can you share your story around that?
Yeah. So growing up, like my mom was a single mom to three kids. She worked 80 hours a week. So that's all I ever saw was, my mom working hard and playing with us on the weekends or the time that she got. And so that was always ingrained in me. And I've always had a job. I've always worked. I've always, provided for myself. And so recently I have a partner and we're now engaged. And so learning to understand that I have somebody on my team, that it's not just me anymore, that, we're contributing as a household was like a whole new concept that my brain just wouldn't relax, I guess. And feeling like I was just in hustler mode all the time to then, like you said, looking at my numbers and the financials and being like, why am I stressed? Like everything's fine. We're good. And then that's only like on my side. And then to add him to the equation, it's like, okay, we're really good. Like, why am I worried about this still? But it's just like my brain was just so ingrained with like that grind and the being, like I said, in the hustler mode all the time. And now I'm trying to unlearn that and tell myself like I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to relax a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So I want to go back to something you said a little bit earlier about being a leader. And you're fairly young and running your own business and being a leader to a staff. How have you like developed your leadership skills? What lessons have you learned? Where do you see that you can even improve?
Yeah, so I'm actually a part of a lot of different like mastermind groups, which is how like we initially connected. So I'm always seeking out like that mentorship and learning from others that are ahead of me or that, are where I want to be. Learning like how they lead and how they live their life essentially. So learning a lot from others and always willing to be like better every day. Like I know that I'm not the best at anything and I can always improve. So that's how I look at leadership as well of like I know I'm going to make mistakes, but I want my team to know that at the end of the day like I care deeply and that I'm willing to always be better too.
I love that. And you mentioned masterminds, right? That's where we met, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. When did you find masterminds and how have they shaped you in different ways, you and
Yeah.
your business?
So actually, funny story, I joined a mastermind in that first year of business, and they are the ones that kind of helped me see my worth and gain that confidence to say, I don't think that this partnership is for you anymore. Like maybe you should think about that. So kind of planted the seed of like, wow, other people see that potential in me that maybe I haven't fully seen yet. And so being a part of that really helps me work through that. And then now just having that constant support, like I'm in a group that I've been a part of ever since then. And so getting to connect with the other people in the group and hearing other stories and like we're all just there for each other because we all go through the same things in business, no matter what our business is. And so having other people to, bounce ideas off of and everyone that's trying to create a bigger vision for their life is really helpful too.
Yeah, I love that. I love masterminds and it makes you feel a little bit less alone, right? When
Yes.
you're in this world together
Mhm.
with other entrepreneurs, other business owners, and you're like, "Oh," and one of the reasons I started this podcast to make people feel less alone, like we're all struggling, we're all trying to figure it out, and we're all doing the best we can, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you wanna just crash out and you're like, "Okay, wait, let me just, like, message them and see," and they're like, "Okay, calm down." We've all been there. So, it's really helpful.
That's great. That's great. So, mm, looking back at your whole journey, Courtney, how did your inner work and the practical side of your business like come together? You mentioned about grieving, your partnership, about guilt around money, and we talked about learning to receive support and things like that. So,
Mhm.
how looking back how at your journey over the last few years, like how does the inner work and the outer work come together?
That's such a good question. To me, it's a constant work in progress. Like, we have to well, I have to continually do that inner work all the time, and that's how it happens outwardly, because I if I'm not doing the inner work, then what's gonna be on the outside, or what are those outcomes gonna be? But I would say, like, I'm just in such a good place where I'm seeing that come to fruition of the 2 sides coming together now, where I don't have to be in the office every day. My team is thriving, and it's because I've done all this work, leading up to that, that I can actually start to not relax or take a break, but kind of like, okay, we don't have to be full gas pedal mode 24/7. Like, we can enjoy our life a little bit more. And I think it is from that years of doing both sides of that.
And I think it's when you start looking at yourself as a CEO, right?
Mhm.
I think that's the identity shift that you make as a business owner when you start saying, okay, I'm a CEO, which also means I get to delegate things. I get to, be there when people need me, but also let them be their own leaders, right?
Mhm.
Because you've shown them and you've given them the skills and the tools to move forward. So that's really what a CEO identity is all about. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you're embracing that very well, Courtney.
Yes, thank you.
Where can people find you and learn more about you, Courtney? Are you on social media, your website?
Yeah, so our office Instagram is at the Cove Chiro. And then our website is the same, thecovechiro.com. And that's our business page. So we post a lot about what we do as far as nervous system chiropractic care. And then my personal Instagram is at Dr. Courtney B underscore.
Awesome. Thank you. One last closing question. If you could speak to a woman standing on the edge of her next level, what would you want her to know?
That she is capable and worthy of going to the next level,
I love that.
and that she has all the tools she needs inside of her.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Courtney. I really enjoyed our conversation and excited to continue networking with you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with another woman who's building something meaningful. And if you are enjoying this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a review. Leaving a review can help more women discover these conversations. And until next time, keep manifesting, managing, and multiplying your money.